Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'm with Richard Lake and we're going to ask him some probing questions on his cycling history.
Hi everyone.
If you want to just give us a quick breakdown of what rides you've been doing, obviously over the years.
Over the years. So it all started in about 2018 really. Started doing my old axes and things like that, ever increasing distances. Found out I was really good at it and enjoyed it. PBP the next year, that's Paris-Brest-Paris.
2019 that was,
2019, yeah, that was 1,200 kilometres.
Did you finish it?
Yes, finished it. 81 hours and 40 something minutes.
Wow. So
I remember that well because it was my very first big, huge, ultra.
Did doing that sort of egg you on to bigger and brighter and longer things, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I knew once I finished that I wanted to do the Transcontinental.
Yeah.
Obviously that wasn't to be until 2022.
The COVID break, which delayed that. I remember actually when you said you were going to do it, and then it got delayed due to COVID, and I think you were delayed by a year basically. So
2 years.
2 years, yeah. So unfortunate that, but you did it anyway. So
yeah.
Going back a little bit before, I think you've also done a LEJOG as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
What was that like?
That was in 2020, so it was kind of a LEJOG and a half really. I got my dad to drive me down to Middle England, I guess, and I cycled from a little village called Halford, like the bike shop.
Yep.
Stage one. So I just got dropped off by my dad in Halford. Don't know where I am now. Probably about 5k up the road. It's been lumpy as I'm creeping onto the Cotswolds.
And I cycled all the way from there, all the way down to Land's End.
Wow.
And then cycled up all the way to the top, John O'Groats. But it wasn't an official route I made up, but it was all road. Did a few trails, especially in Cornwall and Devon. Camel Trail, Tarka Trail.
You've got a taste for more riding from that as well. I take it,
fully laden.
2020
that was 2020.
So
soon after everything opened up.
Was the road still pretty empty back then?
It was fairly quiet.
Yeah.
And I timed it, so when I hit Scotland, all the hospitality opened up as well.
That's good.
It was very hit and miss though, up there for places.
Did you enjoy the job?
Yeah, it was brilliant. I absolutely enjoyed it. It gave me a real taste of, riding, in unknown places and trying to work things out as you're going along when things go not quite to plan.
It does. I'm guessing obviously at the time you were old axing, and obviously you got the Paris-Brest-Paris under your belt.
Yeah.
LEJOG was the next big thing.
I always wanted to do that.
Was that more of a sort of, I'm just going to go for a bike ride and just take my time, or was there a time limit you set yourself?
It was, it was the first really. We'd come out of lockdown and it was like, let's just go for one big adventure, being cooped up like an animal kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it took a best part of 3.5 weeks. I'd managed to get that furlough, that's what they used to call it. So I was getting paid to do Land's End John O'Groats, basically.
So from the LEJOG and obviously Paris-Brest-Paris and the 2-year wait, obviously wild camping came into be. What's that like?
That was quite a departure really from what I'd done before, because when I was doing old axes and PBP, you didn't really linger around.
No.
You moved on pretty quickly. You might sleep in a bush shelter or something like that. With wild camping, obviously, you may be bringing a tent with you or a bivvy bag and things like that. So it was quite interesting.
Do you prefer?
Yeah, enjoyed it.
Do you prefer tent or do you prefer bivvy bag or?
It's all depending on the time of year really, and where you're going from, how much time you have. I would say I like both, to be honest. If it's a little bit cold, but it's this time of year where the leaves are falling from the trees. Yeah. It's nice to be away from the elements and things.
Quite lucky at the moment. The weather's not too bad at the moment during the day. I'd imagine it drops quite a lot at the night, of course. But
You catch me on a bikepacking adventure.
It's a weekend. Of course, he's on an adventure, but you must have some stories. What's the best place you've slept in when wild camping? Something what surprised you, and you were like kicking yourself when you woke up in the morning, going, "This is a fantastic spot. I must remember this."
Can I tell you some of the worst?
You can tell me the worst,
because because I do all there's always, I have a saying, I share with my viewers on my channel, and that is, this is what you could have won. So I ended up pitching up in the dark, northern, usually pitching up in the dark, after dark, arriving late, leaving early, that kind of thing. And usually you might find somewhere in a corner to sleep if it's a bivvy bag or something like that, or you squeeze yourself into a corner if it's a tent. And then you'll wake up in the morning and you'll start going along the road and go, look at that amazing place over there. Oh, look at that vista, amazing views. Just like the perfect camping spot, and here's what you could have won, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's my take home from doing wild camping and things like that. There's always something better, just literally around the corner. Yeah.
Crazy.
But I would say, I have had some pretty spectacular wild camps, especially with the TCR.
Yes.
Like
We'll get onto
sleeping
that.
behind walls and things like that, memorials and what have you.
We'll get onto the Transcontinental in a second, because I think for me, watching your channel, that's where I think the videos really did start to pick up pace. It was like, it wasn't just wild camping, it wasn't a weekend adventure, it was more, it's quite serious, it's a long event.
Yes.
You got the question of, are you going to make it? Can you make it? Is the bike going to hold up? And then you've got the navigation.
Am I going to hold up? Yeah.
Everything. And to me, that was just a combination of everything which sort of come together. It was fascinating viewing, watching you do it, and watching that little dot go around the map as well, which I know a lot of you viewers will be accustomed to with Richard as well. But I thought that was just the best thing ever, watching you do it. And I know when
thank you. It's quite
watching
something.
your Instagram as well, you had some highs and lows. You were quite low at certain points of that ride, I think, but you picked yourself up and you sort of just changed your mindset and you just cracked on with it and enjoyed it, I think, in the end. So what was...
that was the first time doing anything as grandiose as that. Yeah. So...
Was it scary?
A little bit at times.
Yeah.
But more... I was less scary, but more of the unknown, cycling across an entire continent and in the mountains.
Yeah.
Both those I've not done before. In terms of scariness, dogs really at night.
Dogs, yes.
Yeah. Dogs after dark.
I don't know about you, but I think the little rascals are the worst ones. The big ones for me tend to be pretty, subtle.
Yeah, that's the UK, isn't it? Over on the continent in Eastern Europe, it doesn't matter what breed of dog it is. It's going to see you, and it's like it's programmed to chase after you, and it will.
So, on the Transcontinental, what was the best part for you on the Transcontinental? What did you enjoy the most?
I always remember the feeling of flying out the Alps after 2 or 3 days hard riding in the mountains, and finally reaching the Croatian coastline, and dragging my bike down to the beach, throwing off my shoes.
Really?
Yeah, dipping in the sea. Yeah.
You wouldn't get that in England, would you?
Sorry?
Wouldn't get that in England.
No.
And from the best part to the lowest part?
Well, the lowest part is, you probably know yourself, is the final parkour that year was particularly difficult in Romania. It was called the it was up near Transalpina. I can't remember the name of the stretch now. It doesn't come... Oh, Drummo Strategic, it was called. It was an off-road section, 40-odd K long. Took all day. It was off-road. I was just looking around me, but this is quite smooth, really, in comparison to that. It was very grassy. Bear in mind, it's a road race.
Yep.
And everybody's showing up on, road tyres and things like that, slicks. So it took a whole day to walk all the way uphill, because I was the only idiot who decided to do it. Because you could choose which way you wanted to reach this parkour. You could either do it east to west or west to east. And one way was all uphill and the other way was all downhill. I chose uphill. Don't ask me why I did it that way. It would have been so much better to do it the other way, coast all the way down. But either way, it was pretty mental. You was going up there, and you'd come along and meet loads of dogs, with a shepherd off in the distance with his long, huge beard and stuff like that, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he would be there, and you'd be like, stop dead, because the dogs are like, just like barking up at you, and you're like, I'm just going to have to wait here. And then I was going along there, and I kept thinking, I'm going to run out of food soon, if this doesn't hurry up. And I started, I was eating what I had, and I started seeing berries in the trees.
Really?
I started picking berries and fill them into my empty, by now, water bottle.
Crikey.
And I was like, I'm going to have these later. So you made water taste so much more interesting.
6 fig rolls, couple of cereal bars, and a salami stick. Quite a thick one, so I've taken about 3 or 4 bites out of that. And I think that's it. I've got plenty of water, so that's enough to get me through. I'll be interested to know where it brings me out at the top of this. If it brings me out near a shop or something, I might be able to just deviate. Come back again. I don't know what to say. This climb is breaking me. Look at that. There's another 4k to go. Just to the top of this. And then there's X amount of distance left afterwards.
Tell you that.
At what point from there did you know that was the lowest part, and then it sort of got better, if you know what I mean, for riding?
So as I was going up there, cause I say it was all uphill, I started thinking about home and people at work, and reeling off names of people to try and occupy my mind, to get me away from like the tears which were like starting to form and that lot. But it only made it worse, really. But once I got to the very top and I finally reached that summit, like 9 o'clock at night, given I started at 7 o'clock in the morning, it was like a huge sigh of relief.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
And I was laughing soon after that, because I need to get into the town to find a hotel like 10 o'clock at night, what's going to be open kind of thing. And backlight went off, so I had no rear lights. I had to I had a spare, but I had to dig it out and find it. And as I was doing that, there was this noise behind me, this highway, middle road. I was like, what is that? Bloody dog behind me, following me all the way up this hill. So yes, we was having a right old chat.
And we're not talking about just a gentle sort of 4% of the rear. I'm guessing there's some serious.
No, it was pretty gentle actually.
Was it?
But it was just long and windy. And now this dog just following me all the way up.
Wow.
So, and then got to the top, it's like, see ya. Way down, like 12 hairpins to the ski resort, and checked into the hotel, and got a pizza. Two pizzas. I made it just in time.
What's when you finished the Transcontinental, obviously before you went and when you finished, was there a dramatic change in body weight, and obviously you yourself, did you lose weight or did you gain?
Yeah, definitely lost weight, but I didn't check any of the numbers or anything. I don't really concentrate on the numbers anymore.
No.
I just go out there, get the fitness and look after yourself, drinking plenty, eating plenty of food. But yeah, by the time you do finish, you do look in the mirror and go, wow, I've lost some weight here.
Mm.
Yeah.
So the big question obviously is, if you were offered the opportunity to do Transcontinental once again, would you do it?
I would love to say yes, but it took me so long. It took me like 21 days work. We're not that impressed.
I'd imagine you go into an event like that or equal to that with a little bit more experience now than you did before you started.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously from then we know you've done Pan Celtic.
Yeah.
You've done Gran Ganacci, I think it is.
Early this year. Yeah.
And obviously there's another big one on the horizon soon, which I know you're desperate to try and get into. All of them are similar, if not smaller, but similar.
Some off-road, some are on-road.
It's a bit of a mixture of, Gran Ganacci was off-road, wasn't it?
It was amazing, yeah.
And I think your main gripe was you were on the wrong bike, wasn't it, I think?
Right bike, but it just needed more of everything, like bigger tyres, more lower gears.
Pan-Celtic?
suspension.
You did that on
Pan-Celtic.
the road, didn't you, I think?
That was that was on the road bike.
Was it?
There was interestingly there was some gravel in that as well. 100 kilometres of gravel in that.
Wow.
But it was all spread out throughout Brittany.
Yep.
This was in 23. It was a ride around Brittany and England across to Wales. But all the gravel was in Brittany, and it was not like this, what we're surrounded by now. It was nice.
All right.
Cycle paths and things. Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder about the gravel. I mean, I was on a ride a few weeks back now, and it was gravel, and I'm like, this isn't gravel. This is National Cycle Network gravel.
Yep.
You know,
Gucci gravel.
yeah,
as I like to call it.
It was classified as gravel, and I'm like, this isn't gravel. It's just normal road. You know, for what we're used to in the UK. Coming on for the road and the infrastructure. Obviously, in the UK, we're used to National Cycle Network, rubbish roads, back lanes and stuff like that. One ride recently, which you've done, and previously, which you've done before, was Race Around the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And I think when you went to do Race Around the Netherlands, you would probably, you couldn't not step on their infrastructure for riding. And I know when you did your big tour, which the videos are still on YouTube currently, so you might still catch a few more left to air as well. But what's your views on cycling in the Netherlands?
Oh, well, it was 2019 I first visited the Netherlands, an event over there called the Fitzelf Steentocht, and I rode from one side of Netherlands to the other for this ride. This is Sportief, and instantly it's like, wow, this is really civilised.
Is it the attitude? Is it the attitude to cyclists different?
The attitude to cyclists is different. You can navigate any junction pretty much, and you have priority. And it's like, do you know? No, I'm not shaming the name of the film, but where Moses
Parts of the Red Sea.
and the parts of the Red Sea.
Yes.
It's just like that. You're coming up to a junction, the cars are just stopping for you, and it's just unreal.
What's your experience with bike gear, and what have you got? What have you upgraded? What have you decided is good and bad? And
yeah, that's a big subject in itself. You talk about bikes and wild camping and things. Lots of trial and error. I've got a gravel bike, mountain bike, and a road bike, and now I keep things same as possible, like all the same saddle, all the same cleat system.
yep.
For me, it's SPD. That's what I use now, just mountain bike, shoes.
We can keep universal on the shoes as well, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That leads on to the next part, obviously, for keeping it simplified, is the bike fit, really. I mean, you've just recently had a bike fit course, and I know on one bike, maybe two, it's okay, it works great. But on one of your bikes, I know you were griping that it wasn't really set up, or it couldn't, isn't set up for the bike fit.
Yeah.
What you've got given, and that leads on to keeping everything simple and the same on every bike. But then again, is the mountain bike the same as the road bike, whereas the same as the gravel bike, if that makes sense on the fitting? Because
well, I must admit, the mountain bike behind me, I've not measured up and fit it yet. It was just a spontaneous thing, like, oh, let's go on a bikepacking adventure. But it's not far wrong, I don't think. So, but
looking at it, looks like you've had some adventure already this weekend.
yes, absolutely covered and caked in mud.
Do you actually clean your bikes? Because I don't tend to bother on mine, because I know full well,
especially this time of year.
Yeah.
Not so much in the summertime. You can get away with going out with a dirty bike, but this behind me, it's seen a lot this weekend.
So with riding all the rides you do, and you do a lot of mileage a year as well, you must have some sort of mechanicals at the side of the road, especially where you're not near anywhere or you're not riding with anyone, and it's miles and miles to the nearest town. What sort of workarounds have you done to get out of a sticky spot?
Well, surprisingly, not so many. I know it sounds like out there, like, you do so many thousands of miles every year, but I have surprising amount of good luck. Or rather, I keep on top of maintenance from going out on adventures. If you keep on top of your maintenance, go out with a good bike, you look after it, less will go wrong, kind of thing. So it's changing tyres, changing inner tubes, plugging holes.
I did see on Instagram the other week, I think it was just last week actually, where a little dirty trick, and it's an old trick I've seen years ago, where you got a flat tyre and you got no spare tube, pull the tube out, tie it in a knot like that, and put it back in and pump it back up. And I'm like, do you know what? I've seen this one before, but I've yet to actually try it, but it never dawns me. I mean, I've seen people, especially on rides, they pack grass.
Yeah.
They just keep on pumping up every 2 miles or a mile, whatever it is. You know,
Yeah,
you got a
till
slow
you get
bunch,
somewhere.
And sometimes I've been a witness as well to this one. I've ridden a tyre when it's completely flat, when it's on a mountain bike.
Yeah.
When on a road bike, when it goes flat and there's nothing to be done, you have to push it. You can't ride it on the rim because it would just destroy everything.
That's right.
But on the mountain bike, I've done that.
I was once out on an Audax and my chain snapped.
Ah.
But I was like 5 miles from the end, and it was all downhill.
Oh well, that's
so. Do you know what I did?
You just
I put the
coasted it.
chain in my back pocket and just coasted all the way down.
One thing I've always wanted to sort of carry in my toolkit with me is the link remover. You know, the actual. I've always gone, well, if I ever get a chain snap, I'll just take a link or two out, drop it down a gear, shorten the chain, and single, fix it basically.
Yeah.
But I've never actually got round to it. I've never actually got one on the.
I've always been in a situation where someone's done that for me. So the biggest time really was, the only time really, apart from coasting down the hill, was Paris-Brest-Paris. I snapped the hanger on the derailleur.
Okay. Yep.
So I had to take an Uber van from the outskirts of Paris to Rambouillet for Paris-Brest-Paris. It cost me fingers that somebody there would be able to come to the rescue, and somebody had what's called a universal hanger.
Oh yeah.
And obviously there's loads of mechanics there at the start, and they managed to fix that in place, get it all working and that lot. Lost 2-3 gears and things like that. So that didn't bode well, going
Kept on moving,
850 miles across France kind of thing.
That's
But it was lucky that someone came to the rescue at the 11th hour.
So some takeaways from there is, I mean, a lot of people do ride with these extra bits. I don't, because I'm lazy.
I'm always carrying extra gear just in case.
That sort of thing could come, especially for you, not for me because I don't go the distance this man does. But that could be on Transcontinental. You're in the mountains somewhere. That happens. If you've got that in your pocket or in your bag, then at least you can salvage something.
Yeah,
and then get up.
Learn it in the moment.
It is. 2023, Richard then also did All Points North, which is a tasty ride.
Yeah.
Every time it gets announced, I look at it and go, oh, that looks really good. But no, me, I'm like, no, I better not actually, because I probably won't finish it. But you have, and you did this in 2023, All Points North. What was your experience with that?
Well, I'd already experienced a hilly ultra before in a condensed form. And then that was one called Pure Peak Grit.
Yes.
The year before. That was 600 kilometres, 12,000 metres of climbing. So when I signed up to All Points North, I knew it would be
similar.
It's very similar. Just greater distance, but all that climbing still.
This was back to back, did you say? So it was from one weekend to the next weekend, or was it one day?
Pure Peak Grit was the previous year.
Oh, right.
All Points North was 23. Although, I did do an ultra the following weekend.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
That might be what you're thinking, Great British Escapades.
That's right.
After the All Points North. I had about 2 days off the bike, and then I was doing a 480 kilometre off-road gravel ride through this South and North Downs.
That is.
So,
that must have been leg hurting.
Yeah. Well, let's say once all that was over with, I was pleased to finally have a break.
Yeah.
But All Points North, it will be the only time that I'll entertain that ride, because it just wasn't fun for me. Just
didn't enjoy
too much climbing.
Yeah,
excessive.
Do you find a lot of these events, especially the Audax-led events, the ultras as it would be for the Audax world, do you think they're getting a little bit too silly when it comes to, well, we're going to put a hill in, but let's put all the hills in. Let's make it as difficult, let's make it really difficult to actually give people something to do, which is great for the people that can do it. I mean, I know a lot of people who I follow on Instagram and on Strava as well, and YouTube, they haven't done All Points North amongst many others. But the average Joe like me who wants to get into Audax will look at that and go, that's just too much. The average Audaxer, you know, possibly will go, yeah, maybe twice the length of time might be quite fun, but
they have certainly, with all the ultras I've been involved in the past, they've certainly tried to up the game, making it harder year in, year out. And the attraction of doing ultras is that anybody can do it or have a go at it. By making it harder, you kind of make it a bit more pro.
Getting very elitist, I think.
You're getting elitist, and it would be a shame if 2-3 years from now you have events like the TCR and you expect like ex-pro athletes to be entering it and less of Joe blogs.
Badlands is probably billed as the hardest, isn't it, I think? Mm-hmm. So they say.
Yeah, I'd be interested to find out.
Well,
yeah.
That's, if you look at Badlands, obviously being one of the hardest rides there is out there, we're sort of forgetting North America as well. I mean, there's a couple of North American rides which I think are scarier. Now, I don't know if you've ever looked at anywhere outside of Europe or Asia or even North America and gone, oh, that looks good.
Yeah, you can tell by a smile on my face, I have actually thought about, well, one of those. I don't know which one the other one is you're thinking about, but I have contemplated Tour Divide. Again, it depends on work commitments and things.
So it's a big effort.
But it would be an amazing thing to do.
Would that be on the wish list of rides you would love to do maybe one day?
Maybe one day. Yeah.
And the rides you actually want to do and can do, you're just waiting to get on the list. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's no secret. Richard obviously is trying for Badlands this year. He tried last year.
I tried last year.
Obviously, you didn't get in.
Nope.
I think
it's a very popular ride.
They were oversubscribed. Apparently, I think it was 500-600% people who applied for it or something.
Quite
like that.
possibly.
And it's probably only ever going to get worse. But again, the appeal of it is probably down to the YouTubers, you know, what actually ride it and film it. It makes it more accessible to people to go, wow, that looks absolutely fantastic, especially with the divide as well. That one I've seen quite a few videos and it looks very scary, but it looks like an amazing journey.
The good thing about all of these is even though a lot of them are popular, the organisers do strive to get everybody covered.
You could do an entry this year. Because, if anything,
I'll try. Fingers crossed.
One question I've got, I mean, I try and record, not every ride, but most of my rides. Most of my rides are quite boring, and I'm sure yours are, you know, the commute to work and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah, before, maybe when you're doing a big event, leave the camera at home, I'm just going to ride it. Have you ever sort of pondered that thought before?
Yeah, and it is good to get out there and not ride. I've done that recently, and I'm like, oh, this is a breath of fresh air not to have to talk to camera.
It does, for me, when I'm riding without the cameras, it's it's a few less worries because I haven't got to worry about battery, camera angles, audio.
You do carry lots of things though. I'm like all my cycling activities and adventures, I always like minimise.
You do.
What can I get away with, you know?
It's a good point you say that. I mean, I started with a GoPro Hero 8 on my first video, which is hideous, by the way. The audio was all over, the colour was horrible. But I sort of gone through the motions of all the gear, no idea. And now I know what works for certain types of rides, and this sort of ride I'm on the big camera, and I've got the little camera there, and I've got the camera over there as well. And obviously we're wired up for audio, so this should sound pretty okay, hopefully. But sometimes I find just a little one just there with a little windshield.
Yeah.
What do you call it?
Wind muff.
Wind muff, that's it. That just works perfect. And I think you can stow that. I know you do. You use it with your little gum shield, what you got from Francis Cade, I think. He won that in a competition. And he just sticks it in his back pocket, pulls it out. And that's a very, very quick way of actually filming. So if anyone's actually looking to get into YouTubing and actually, you know, filming your rides, not...
I'm surprised you remembered that I won that from Francis Cade.
I was very jealous.
Yeah. I forgot myself. I'm actually on my second one now, though, because...
Has he had another competition since?
I won another one. No, I can't remember now. I think it just broke or lost it somewhere.
So going on for 2025, obviously, for Richard Lake, I mean, what's left? What have you got left on the card? What do you want to achieve next year, really, when it comes to riding?
As we tested to, I've done so much, but I like doing events that I've done before. There's a few of those routes that Cycling UK have got. I'd like to do the King Alfred's Way again.
Yeah.
Did that back in June. That was pretty amazing. Just right, I'm getting more and more into riding off road now. Badlands.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd love to do that next September.
Badlands, good question. I mean, you've watched the videos, you've studied the maps and the routes.
Yeah.
Do you think any of it's going to be a problem for you, possibly, or anything you're more concerned about, or is it more a case of, well, let's just do it if we get into it?
First off, I just want to make sure I'm in.
Yes.
Secondly, I don't tend to do too much research that could put me off. With that, you're following a prescribed route. So yes, like you say, you do know from previous years what's been going on. But whether I sit there and look at somebody else's Strava activity and pick it to pieces, I don't know, I've never done that in the past. I'm like, okay, this is the distance, this is the mountain climbing. There might be a few key points along the route which like stand out. Because I think is it the Garafi Desert? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Where there's like a big long section between amenities and things like that. So there's key moments like you have to plan for sure. But I'm not going to try and let those big things kind of play in my mind, you know.
I think for me, I will trawl through when I've got a ride planned or want to ride. I will go through someone who's ridden it and look at where they stop, basically, and then I'll look on Google Street View to see where it is, and I go, it's a shop, it's a garage, it's water, you know, it's a toilet, you know, stuff like that. And you think, well, okay, so if they're stopping there, let's have a look at what they've done, and I'll mark that in the back of my mind. I won't religiously follow it, but
you've got to start with a plan.
Yeah. Especially if you're going into the UK, if you're going into Yorkshire or the North Yorkshire Moors or anything else, sometimes it can be next village isn't always a guaranteed shop. As it tends to be. Knowing some of the places, I mean, I've always gone, you know, as long as I'm 20 miles within a shop, water, or I can, you know, even on the deaf door, I can get to it eventually.
Yeah.
For a long period of time, even at snail pace. You know, push comes to shove.
Yeah, one step at a time.
It is. So I think looking at that for just sort of back of your mind, sort of peace of mind is my sort of going. But definitely for that ride for Badlands, I hope you do get in this year. It'll be.
I'm looking forward to. Is it a Bocadilla or something? That Chris Hall. Every time you watch his videos, he's a Bocadilla. So I think it's some sort of like a panini or sandwich thing. So I'm interested to find out what a Bocadilla is, and if I like it, I'll be having those every day.
Now, I wonder if Chris is actually going to ride again.
Yes, that would be very interesting to find out.
Yeah, obviously this year, 2024, he didn't complete it, did he? Because he had, was it heat exhaustion, I think it was?
Yeah.
It was quite bad, bless him, but...
it's something we don't necessarily take so seriously over here.
Looking at Chris and his videos and his rides, he's not one to shy away from failure. I mean, that's just the way he's built, isn't it? You know, when he fails, he likes to go back and try it and make sure he can do it. And I'll be very shocked if he doesn't actually ride it next year. But don't hold me against that. So if you're watching, Chris, good luck, mate. And maybe you can give this chap some tips as well, which I'm not even sure when we find out who actually gets in. Is it a few weeks or is it a month or two?
Not too sure. I think it'll be towards the end of the month, I'd imagine.
Hopefully so.
I can't remember.
So, good luck with Badlands if you manage to get in. Hope you do. And I shall keep a close eye on that as well.
Yes.
Anyway, Richard, thank you very much for spending the time to talk to me today. Yeah, it's been great. I've enjoyed this. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Yeah, I've enjoyed the questions.
Not that anyone has, but if you haven't already subscribed to this chap, links in the description. I would put it in the corner, but I always get the angles wrong, so I don't know if it's that one or that one.
Same.
I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.